And we are off. 800 ml, 800 ml, 800, 800. What's that? Quick math. 3.2 liters plus the bladder against my back here, another 2 liters. That puts me at 5.2 liters in tow here in the UltrAspire Traverse. Did any of you tune into the Cocodona 250 miler this past week? Actually, the race might even still be going as I'm filming this, but if you did watch some, all, or more likely a portion of that race on YouTube, probably saw quite a bit of UltrAspire out on the course, and in fact, quite a bit of this Traverse 20 liter out there. That race traverses 250 miles of Arizona terrain from Sonoran deserts all the way up to the high elevation in Flagstaff, Arizona. Not quite as high where I am now, but Boise is actually a high desert climate. With that being the case, water access extremely limited. Everything dries up during the middle of the season, and if you're going out on a long route, you have to pack your water with you or rely on some pretty sketchy streams, which is not what you want to be doing out here. So the ability to pack high volumes of fluid here, as well as gear, of course, is definitely the priority and definitely the calling card of this Traverse pack. I'm loaded up here. Again, over 5 liters. Didn't overly stuff it with gear. I'm gonna walk through each and every pocket on this vest as we go through this video, but added a few extra gels in these huge pockets on the side. The cavernous rear compartment, quite empty at this point for this route. I don't wanna load myself up too much with weight here as hiking a little bit uphill here. One thing that sets UltrAspire packs apart from other brands is they do tend to have more of a structured type of fit and design compared to some other vest models that may be a little bit lighter weight, more kind of clothing-esque in their fabric and fit designs. UltrAspire packs typically have a little bit more structure around their seams, around the edging of the vest panels, but in general, everything is just very solidly built. You can see the kind of strong edging around here. If I look inside here, you do have thicker material, kind of mesh, breathable still, but more structured padding even on the inside of the panels against the body. Sometimes I get confused whether some of these brands call their products either vests or packs. This one definitely leans more towards the quote-unquote pack side of things versus the, I would call them more body wrapping, lighter weight vest type styles. UltrAspire makes that work across all of their vest slash pack models by their design of the shoulder straps and also their Max O2 sternum design. If you're thinking about, say, adding thicker panels, adding a more kind of structured skeleton to a vest, you may think that may lean more towards it being bulky in feel on the body or even heavy, in fact. But UltrAspire, they always have that kind of shoulder design where it rides narrowly over your shoulders and cuts a little bit lower both in front and behind, and they always give you good arm cutouts. So I found that in all of UltrAspire's vests, I never feel restricted in any of them. And even at, say, 20 liters here, as far as their average capacity, I don't feel any restriction in arm movement. And again, I'm loaded up here with 5.2 liters, full front pockets, rear pockets, bladder in the back, and my arms feel pretty natural. Also, the cut of the shoulders, pretty much in all of their vests, it never kind of edges onto that border between your neck, that kind of transition here. They always seem to be just outside of that, so never have any irritation along this area of the neck in any of their vests, and I'm quite comfortable here, and that is saying something with this amount of capacity on me right now. what they call Max O2 sternum strap here. They kind of have these shock cords here, usually as their closure system. They have different variations of the attachment points on either side, but it's essentially strong stretch bungee system here, looping over here, and usually have a simple toggle adjustment, sometimes on both sides. Here, just one touch, one pull here, and you can tighten them right up here. And you can see as this vest is moving a little bit with the weight of the water in there, you can see that kind of stretching in and out, especially as you breathe. I'll talk about sizing here. I do have a size small. I wear small in all of UltrAspire's vest. I have a 36-inch chest, and this size small is spec'd at 33 to 37 inches. When I'm not fully loaded, you probably saw this vest in some of my other videos, the panels will be closer together. So that is something to think about when you consider your sizing. 36 is close to the upper edge of small, but being that I do have the 5 liters in here, it's gonna kind of push the pack out away from your body with the kind of size of all the bottles pretty much around my entire torso. So I'm a lot more spaced out here with these panels compared to some of the other videos you might have seen where they're closer together, when I perhaps have 2 bottles or maybe one in the back and less stuff jammed up everywhere. I think based on the popularity of this vest, or the expected popularity, I think it is also popular objectively because they have been running out, I believe, and having to kind of wait on a bit of restocking. In that regard, they are offering 5 sizes here, which is pretty good. A lot of times you'll get 4 sizes, sometimes even 3, but with the 5 sizes, that leaves you a lot more room to really dial in your fit. Again, consider how much stuff, especially the volume, because with the cylindrical nature of a lot of these bottles in here, it's going to pull it off of your body a little bit. So think about that in terms of your measurements in relation to their size guide. Again, 36 here, fully loaded. I'm still okay, but I'm at the kind of edge of their small sizing, goes up to 37. So I'm pretty good on that. Let's say I was just a touch like wider around the chest here. Let's say I was maybe 37 and, you know, kind of borderline between small, medium. At a 37, if I was going to be fully loaded up, these panels would be further apart, and then it was going to be probably infringing on my shoulders there in that sizing. So I would say if you're at a 37-inch chest exactly, likely want to look at a medium, but again, that depends on how much stuff you're going to put in there. If you're thinking you're not going to put 4 bottles in all these pockets surrounding you, plus 2 liters in the back there, then if you're borderline, you might want to stick with the lower size. So again, consider what you're storing in that vest when you're choosing your size. But with a 20-liter vest like this, I think it's safe to assume that you're looking for a vest or pack to hold a lot of stuff. So let's take a look at each and every pocket here. First of all, I've got 2 800 ml flasks up front here. Kind of close enough, similar to other bottles in how close it is to drinking out of these without straws. Of course, you can add short straws to these. I have some short straws at home with a flip top here. Those are kind of like my race day flask setup. If I was actually taking this out on a race, I put those little short straws in there, maybe tuck them under here, and they'd be pretty much like right here. I only have 1 blottle. You've seen the blottle a lot on my channel and stuff. This is the one I have in the back pocket here. It's essentially the same, it is the same 800 ml flask with a little hose bottle top attached. This is the one where I put my drinking mix today. The rest I just filled up with water for demonstration. I'm not gonna drink that much out here today, but if you had a couple of these bottles, you got this one here, you route that one right over. One cool feature is you have these big, large storage pockets on the shoulders, but you can also route the hoses behind them, which is really nice. It doesn't cover up these pockets. You could access them you could access them without the hose being always on top of it. That's kind of always annoying with other packs where you do have some shoulder storage, which is always great, but then if you want to route a hose from, say, a bladder, typically it kind of like blocks out your access to some of those. So you can get it behind there. You could also kind of route it under here. I forgot my magnets, so you could always put a magnet anywhere you want to clip it, or you could just, if you don't want to deal with that, sometimes those magnets can easily fall off, you could just tuck it right into a pocket in there. So you could have, this is the hose from my bladder, which I'll take this vest off in a moment. So you got 1, 2, then you can have a third one over here. You can have 2 little short straws here. You could look like a full octopus out there, but no straining your neck all over the place. You could easily, I like having a hose port. Sometimes even if I'm going on a shorter run in a vest with, say, a kangaroo pocket, I just like having, especially with these being 800 ml now, a lot of flasks are just going up in size with the increase in high carb, the increase in hydration. I like to put it crosswise in a kangaroo pocket and then route this bottle hose somewhere around the lower panel and then just stick it here. So if I need to drink, I'm here. I don't have to worry about scrunching my neck down, and then I don't have also stuff bouncing around in front of me. The weight balance is excellent in this vest. Fully loaded here with water. You could put even more because it depends obviously how much gear you want to have in there. I don't have anything right now in the rear storage compartment. So if you're thinking of like water only, you knew it was going to be hot and sunny like this the entire time, and water was the only thing you need aside from essential survival gear, obviously, you could throw even something, another bladder perhaps, in the back pocket. So the weight balance is very good here. You got about 1.5 liters up front, 2.5 in the back. Carrying stuff on your back is always like more stable, less bouncy than having stuff on the front of you. I find when I'm running, especially, maybe different when you're hiking, but a little more in the back, a little less up front, tends to balance things out. Again, that's going to vary on how you pack all your gear. These pockets nice and deep, obviously 800 ml flask. You got 2 of them up here in the Zygos vest. I have the Zygos and the Alpha back at the van. Those pockets and that panel structure was kind of angled this way, so you can't really get the 800 in there. You can, but it sticks out a little in the beginning. It's not really an issue if once you start drinking it down just a little bit, maybe you fill it up, you drink it down right away, and then it can kind of get in there, but it pretty much vertically fits 2 of them straight in here. Then you've got these massive panels on the outside here. These are just huge. They of course overlap on this pocket, but they extend way back here. You could see my kind of fingers back here. This is a huge panel. So even if you're kind of taking up a lot of that overlapping space with a full bottle, you essentially have like a massive side pocket here to just stuff stuff. And then if you have some of that maybe smaller stuff like a buff or light gloves or something, then you could go over top of the bottle here. So I got my gel in here, little thing for the camera here. Got a couple gels on this side. There's also a little bungee toggle here. So that is really nice. Perhaps you don't have these filled up with fluids at the time. Perhaps you start to draw things down as you go throughout a course leg or something like that, and you don't want things falling out. You could cinch this up on the top here, and that holds it pretty tight here. So if you had less gear in here and you had some items in here like small gels and maybe little things that you didn't want to flop out, you could easily kind of tighten these down with these little bungees on the side here. Up front too, which is really awesome. 2 massive sweat-proof pockets here. Now these are not waterproof pockets. Most vests and packs, they claim things are waterproof, but they're generally not. They're gonna get wet. Water's gonna get in somewhere or another, so you can't always rely on that. Anything you wanna keep dry, you gotta put it in a bag or something. But they do call these sweat-proof. So the sweat from my body here, I do have my index cards right here. I haven't been out here terribly long just yet, but I have used this vest again in other videos, and when I carry my little spec notes and stuff out for an on-the-run review, I typically, when I'm in this vest, put them in this pocket and I don't have to worry about them getting sweated up. In other vests, I kind of put them in the front panel so I could kind of check things as I go, and then somewhere along the line in the middle of the run, the index card gets like mush, like you leave something in the washing machine. But completely dry here. It is warm. I am sweating here, so sweat proof. They make a point to not call them out as waterproof so as not to give misinformation. These panels here, very cool adjustability. They have these little cam locks here, which is great. So you could adjust them wherever you need to be along this kind of rail here and just lock it down so it doesn't move at all. You don't have to worry about this getting out of place. I reviewed some Nathan vests where they had a slidable thing, but there was no way to kind of make it stick. It would kind of move around as I went. With this little locking here, you can be assured that wherever you set it at, wherever it feels good, and then if you do have to adjust it during the course of the run, if your capacity shifts based on the legs that you're covering throughout a course or whatever kind of run that you're doing, you may want to even adjust it a little more. You may want to have it wider space when you have a heavier load, and then when things lighten up a bit, you may want to kind of make them a little bit closer just to make it a little bit like looser around the body and get some more airflow around the edges here. Easy and great to know that you could do that easily right here and you don't have to worry about them moving. Again, single pull here on the adjustments, no problem. Just really great setup here. I really like this chest strap setup. It's symmetrical. You don't have like those triangle ones always seem kind of like a little weird. You have 2 and 2 going into one point of contact. On this side, they always seem a little bit off. With the kind of symmetrical nature of everything here, I just like having 2 straight across. And I mean, this is pretty much rock solid. Bouncing around here a little bit. 5 liters in here. You could see how little movement there is. I am starting to throw in some very light jog segments here. Talking like 30 seconds on, 40 seconds on, and then just walk for quite a bit. Just want to get a little bit of kind of bounce to my motion as I ease back in, and also kind of get a feel for this one fully loaded. And I have to say, how does it look? 5 liters, it feels rock solid. I can't think of another vest where I would want to put 5 liters in and expect that it would feel this solid. A couple of notes on these shoulder panels here. I did watch Bryce's video on the channel, and there's a couple of features that, well, actually one feature that I didn't really know about, but these are super stretchy. This side, you don't really see any overlapping material, but there's kind of a fold on the outer edges of these. So you could really stuff like a lot of stuff. You can put like gloves in here or a light beanie or even a buff, no problem. I like to put my salt pills in here. Certainly enough space for something like Spot Tracker or Garmin InReach. There is a bungee in here, and this is something I did know about. If you're putting your InReach in this front pocket here, it's nice that you could strap it down or some other kind of small item. So given that this is such a large capacity shoulder pocket, if you wanted to hold something in there for convenience in a separate pocket, but it was smaller, you can utilize this big bungee to keep it from just like bouncing around next to your face. The feature that I did learn about from watching Bryce in the video is I was wondering why this part was separated off the, area of the shoulder. I thought maybe it was for breathability, or maybe if you had, something long in that rear pocket, that it would give you just like, this little thumbs width or, a few thumbs width of extra space to let it stick over the side. But he actually explained that sometimes you have spot trackers. I have never done a race like a Cocodona or something like that where I have needed to have a spot tracker, from the race itself. I've carried my InReach, of course, and I usually would put it over here or store it somewhere else. But Bryce did explain that sometimes they have a strap or Velcro wrap, and you have to have it maybe on the outside of your pack, and separating this here and not having this integrated into the material of the shoulder strap allows you to kind of wrap that spot tracker around this section. And then also he said that sometimes they're Velcro straps, so you have the layer of the shoulder panel of the vest in between there. So for long distance events, multi-day stuff, that kind of thing, if you're doing that and that is a annoyance to you, I could definitely see, just based on his explanation, that being extremely handy. I've also got the Brook's Ghost Trail in for test here, collaboration with Pneumatics here, more of like a adaptation of a road shoe. The Ghost is extremely popular for Brooks, of course, so adapting that with a little bit of a trail outsole here, not really strapping it down or making crazy changes as far as foot security, just going with the little bit of an increased outsole coverage there for traction on the trails, but leaving that kind of road comfort and design aspects as part of the upper. I take it easy here, actually. Collaboration with Pneumatics is pretty cool. Pneumatics does like seat covers, towels, kind of outdoor camping style equipment, just, you know, general outdoor kind of stuff. I may have some of their stuff in for test in the future for some of my little run venture trips, maybe a little bit of Brooks / Pneumatics collaboration review on Humble running. We'll see. I definitely like the white upper here. You can see it's getting to summer. I heard it was going to be in the 90s next week. We'll see about that, but I like the color of the upper. I like the brown and black design here. Visually looks good. Again, this is a road shoe adapted for the trails. Door trail, so to speak. Perhaps not a gravel shoe due to the setup of the upper. It's just really a comfort style setup here. Quick specs, 11 ounces, 312 grams, 36.28 on the stack, 8 mil drop. Does have DNA Loft V3, nitrogen infused EVA underfoot. Has a soft feel, a little bit of energy, but really more of a comfort kind of ride here, especially with the 8 mil drop and just the softness of the upper material all around the foot. And this being a US 10 here, I definitely noted that it is quite spacious. I have a full thumbs width in this Brooks US 10, whereas I found the Cascadia Elite definitely to be shorter than other 10s that I have. And being that I got these two shoes from the same brand at the same time, both Brooks, this is way more spacious, especially in length, than the Cascadia Elite in a US 10. They sent me 10.5 by accident if you watch those videos, and I think the 10.5 is comparable to this 10. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about the Cascadia Elite. Totally different upper here, matrix with that one, really dialed for a good trail fit here. This is, I would assume, I haven't run in the Brooks Ghost, but it's kind of a road-ish upper. Not much support, foothold, but definite comfort. Feels soft all around the foot. Very easy hiking today, and you know, going in a straight line, a little bit up and down. You can have that outsole on there. Good traction there for here, but if I was kind of getting on tilt, going around edges and really getting into some trails, I'd feel definitely unstable in here, but see that DNA Loft V3, quite compressive and comfortable underfoot. We'll say that. Actually turned around here. I don't want to go down the steep parts, very steep parts along the edges of this trail here. Did a pole review earlier with the Comperdell Earl Koenig poles in this area. I was going up and down those steep parts, testing the poles out. Check that video out if you're interested, but I'm going to kind of loop back around here, head back down the middle section that I came up on. Let's take a look at the back storage. Before we do, a little close-up in case it didn't come across earlier. This is that little back nub here, I think, on the two sides of the shoulder straps here that I was talking about. If you wanted to wrap the strap of a spot tracker or some other kind of shoulder device or whatever it is, you can wrap it around this section right here, and then the panel of the shoulder is protecting anything on that strap from rubbing against and irritating you. So pretty cool design there. Checking out the back here, large cavernous rear compartment here. This is completely open, which is great. If you want to divide up things in here, you'll have to use a dry sack or something like that, but this is more of like your long-term type of storage area, your wet kit, jackets, anything like nutrition for long-term down in the leg or something like that, stuff that you don't easily need accessible. Again, you have huge pockets up front for stuff that you need to easily get at. So major compartment back here. Nice feature here, you have an inner zip pocket here with the key ring. It's nice that the zip is on this side, so normally when you're opening it like this, you can easily kind of keep it like this, fish things around, and don't worry about things falling out, as opposed to being on the outer edge here. Good design point there. You have this huge mesh storage panel. Now this isn't a pocket that is accessible in the rear of the pack. Sometimes maybe I'll put my drone in there, and when I have the vest on, I could like undo the bottom one and kind of pull this up, and then I could reach and grab something in that rear pocket back there. At least grab whatever's kind of near the top. Stuff way back down in there, obviously it's going to be tricky to get into. Whoop, shooting water there. Another aspect of this, I talked about this at the very beginning, it's more of a structured pack compared to other vests which utilize lightweight fabrics, more of like a skin tight kind of apparel type fit. This one is kind of blurring the lines between, say, a structured light hiking pack and a running vest. You have these panels here which are quite thick. There's really, you know, there is this kind of mesh behind this thicker black panel here. I always wondered if you could perhaps trim this off of here. I've seen some UltrAspire athletes that are in seemingly kind of adjusted, perhaps prototype vests, or maybe more streamlined pro models of this vest. And I wonder if this could be an area, because this is really essentially, it's open on both sides. It's essentially foamy material in there, and I guess it does lend some structure to these panels. Again, UltrAspire vests, packs in general, leaning more towards a pack style fit, like a light hiking backpack. Again, with the front panels here, it's going to be more stable than, say, having just a regular lighter hiking backpack, because the hiking backpacks are not assuming you're going to be running in it. With this wrapping around your body, as a running vest traditionally does, plus this extra structure, gives it that feel of just being solid around your body. If it's just like some of those maybe Salomon vests or other brands that are just like a material all around, of course it's going to be lighter, but once you start loading them up, those things kind of move around all over your body. That could be comfortable or perhaps uncomfortable for some. It's obviously going to be less stable the more stuff you put in it. So I wonder if for some of their pros, if they have models that are kind of reducing the volume of this type of thicker material in here, at least on these panel areas. That can be an area of weight savings. And you know, this mesh here, it's in the Alpha vest. It's pretty durable, pretty structured. I'm sure this enhances durability, comfort of the material against your body. But perhaps you could, you know, shave some stuff in here. Another great feature in the rear of this vest is an insulated bladder compartment. The bladder compartment is not part of the rear storage area. It's its own separate section against the back, and I really like this because, again, with an aid station, I've run 100-milers with bladders where you need to carry a lot of capacity. I like having a lot of volume against my back. I find it more stable, less bouncy than having them up front. If I need to carry just a liter or maybe a liter and a half, it's okay having it in the front flasks because I'm going to drink some down right away. But really long legs, I like to have the bladder in here, and just going into an aid station and getting it in and out of its pocket without having to, you know, like stuff it in after you fill it up with all your other gear that you have perhaps in the main compartment. It's just really nice. And it's nice that you can route the hose right here, again, through that little pass through on the shoulder strap, and it's just really easy. Another quick note here, you got these bungees here, so if you did have a lighter load in here or anything that you want to kind of toggle this down, this is easy to cinch down here. And you have these bungees at the bottom, so if you wanted to do the bottom bungee storage, more of a long-term situation, not an in and out like a Quiver, you could utilize those. I typically don't, but I leave them on there. Sometimes if you have a jacket or maybe you have other layers, you could easily kind of strap it on there. Depending on how long you're taking this, maybe you're doing like a fast packing trip, I could see that in this vest at 20 liters, it is a healthy amount. So that is another aspect of this vest. I'm always kind of on the lookout for a like family type vest. We go out on trips, and sometimes we're gonna go on a hike with the family, with the dog, with my daughter, and you know, I don't want to carry another. I'm already probably running on this trip, so I want to bring a running vest. A lot of times I'm doing long distance runs when we go on some of these kind of backcountry RV trips, and it's nice to have a pack that I could go out on those long adventure runs on. And also when we go on our family hike, I don't want to bring a separate like light backpack. I normally don't have to carry a heavyweight backpack, but you know, being out with the dog, being out with my daughter, there's snacks involved, there's treats involved, there's generally like the phone involved, camera, like different other like little things. And it's nice having a high capacity pack running style like this, as opposed to say more of a traditional backpack, because then I gotta take everything always out of it. Here, if I'm taking pictures with the family, I could like pull stuff out of. I have 2 zipper pockets here, small stuff, sunscreen, chapstick. This applies to running races as well. You have big pockets over here if I'm throwing like layers on and off. I got treats for the dog, I got snacks for my daughter, snacks for myself, drinks for myself. She's always like handing me stuff. Who knows what's going on? Have a lot of storage up front. So as far as like a family adventure pack, I mean, this pulls double duty. This is your long run adventure pack, and as well, it could be your family kind of hike type of pack. Again, other members of your family with yourself, you have a jacket on, you're not running, you're maybe less dialed on what you want to fit in. It's nice to have a large storage compartment in the back. And again, you can use these if you want to carry additional. I end up always being the mule for the family. If we go out, it's like, oh, hey, yeah, you grab this, you can hold this. And okay, then I'm walking around with like 3 jackets on. So that would be something where I would strap a larger jacket under here, maybe throw something in that mesh pack, and just like, there's a lot of space to utilize in this vest. Pack, I should say. One feature request that I will submit to UltrAspire is one of those trash pockets. Solomon used to have it. My Fuga EX vest now has it. Just a little trash pocket in one of these kind of outer pockets. I think that'd be awesome. I mean, you're carrying a lot of stuff with you. You're gonna have a lot of gel packs, stuff like that in this vest. It would just be a good, nice to have. Very thoughtful feature. So UltrAspire, if you are watching, maybe throw that one in. It would be very handy, and it would be very appealing to those that are missing it in the new Solomon vest. Thank you for tuning in once again to Humble Running. I hope you did enjoy this one. Getting back out on the trails a little bit. Coming along with me on another hike. We're getting back here, okay? I'm throwing in little mini bites of running here, so we'll be back shortly. You will see more of this Traverse pack on the channel as I get into more of my summer running adventures, a little bit more off the beaten path. UltrAspire has just come a long way since I started wearing their packs. They've been around a long time, of course, but the progression from version to version within each of their models has been noticeable for me. Every time I get one of their packs to try out, I generally end up using it for quite a while. I have 5 UltrAspire vests right now. The Traverse, I've got the Zygos, I've got the Alpha, I've got the Spry, and the Basham, and I use all of them. So every time I get a new one, they just seem to be that little bit more refined, a little bit better than the previous version. And this being a new one, again, I have a couple of small improvements for the next one, maybe a couple little extra Quiver pack attachments there, maybe a little trash bag over here that would just like up it that little bit in the next version. Anyway, great pack nonetheless here. You'll see it more on the channel, and of course you've seen they have quite a stellar athlete team these days. That is definitely something different from UltrAspire. Really high-end, top of the sport athletes. So yeah, they're getting some solid real-world testing in. Race testing, I'm out here in the real world too, but coming back to the beginning of this video, those that were out in Cocodona 250 stress testing this pack. If you tuned in at any point for more than a couple of minutes, there's a high likelihood that you saw this Traverse pack on your screen, or some other UltrAspire pack for that matter. So yeah, UltrAspire continuing to raise the bar higher and higher, a little bit at a time. Thank you for tuning in once again. I will see you out on the trails next time. Got 2 Quiver attachment points on either side here, and then you could kind of rig up that little toggle on the bottom. I have mentioned this in a previous video about this Quiver. I don't like how the adjustment is on the back side of the Quiver here. You can kind of see, you can't easily reach behind your back and adjust this toggle here, as it's behind the Quiver itself. So once you kind of set the right tension, kind of have to leave it as is unless you really take the pack off. Another option which I was thinking about, and certainly is less finicky if you don't want to deal with all these attachment points, you do have this mesh. See, I'm trying to like get this one off here. This is not something you would do ordinarily, taking the entire Quiver on and off, but you do have this mesh panel back here, and it is quite easy to just stow your poles back in there as you're going. Perhaps tighten this down. Might not be as easy on the go to get it all the way back, but it is in the middle of your back, so perhaps that would be easier. One idea that I did have is you could still use the Quiver, because a lot of times these poles do have sharp edges and stuff like that. You wouldn't want to kind of tear up this stretchy mesh material, although it is not a super soft mesh. It is a kind of a ripstoppy, has more texture and structure to it, but again, you wouldn't want to poke through there. So you could use this Quiver or another Quiver or some type of sleeve and just stick it in there. There's quite a good amount of height here, so that the Quiver does stick out just a little bit higher than this, so it may be easier to get it in. And if you are utilizing this to have an excessive or high amount of water storage, then it might be easier to just have this in the center back location here. One thing you could potentially do, which I did think about, is maybe fashion your own kind of attachment points and maybe locate them somewhere along here, just to keep the Quiver from kind of wiggling back and forth inside the pack. That could make a little bit of noise, but maybe if you tie it down real tight, it wouldn't move that much. But maybe something for even UltrAspire to consider in the future. Just put a couple of these things. I mean, it doesn't really add that much to add one of these toggles, and just locate them. Maybe you could do 1, 2, 3 and give an option for this side or that side, and then you can just hook them on there, so that way it will prevent any side to side movement.